All right. So we are back. I am here talking about the witching hour, witches, and I've always been fascinated with witches and paganism and all of that interesting stuff, if you will. And today we're talking about the witching hour. Hello. Hey guys, what's up? We're talking about the witching hour and how it impacts us, right? And I loved talking when I was a child to elderly people, people especially like from Mexico. Here, you don't hear about it so directly about curfews. And what would get me so fascinated about curfews was the very fact, was the very notion that people would say in Mexico that there were curfews established in like small villages, small cities, things like that, because they feared particular witches, covens, whatever you want to refer to them as, but these groups of women that would come out in the dead hours of the night and, prey on any individual that they could find to, unfortunately, who knows what they would do with them. Would they ask them to partake? Would they ask them for some sort of payment? Would they ask them for their children? We don't really know. But I heard a lot of different variances about people encountering witches at night after curfew, running from them, you know, and so that always fascinated me. And I think one time I had a friend, and I'll say her name is Elle. I'm not going to say her full name, but she said that one time it was past curfew. It was her and her boyfriend, and they were driving, coming back from a lake. And I was like, okay, cool. And she's like, but then we saw all these people, and they were dressed up in this like robes. And the way she said it, it was like really cute because she had an accent, like it was like Sophia Verminga or whatever it is, and it was really cute like that. And I was like, wow, okay, so let's get to the creepy part. She said when they turned to her and then they started chasing them. Like she's a teenager, her boyfriend's a teenager, and they're chasing them. And that when they looked back, there was nothing but bulls. And I'm like, bulls? And she's like, yeah, it was like these people turned into bulls. And I'm like, that is probably one of the most strangest um, occurrences that I've ever heard. She said it was more than 5 people, and they were all in like draped garmentry, like robes. And I was like, wow. And they were in the middle of the woods by like a river, like a giant lake, kind of like Canyon Lake. And I was like, wow, that is interesting. That is incredibly interesting. And I've heard a lot of other associated witching hours where people are out and they'll see, these older, like this in Mexico, old school Mexico, people are like trying to get to their house and they see these like individuals that are kind of caped. They're not like like robed. You can't see their face. They're kind of like caped. Like they have dark attire. They have like the little shawl, and they're slowly kind of making their way out from the mountains. And I'm like, okay. And they're running, and then they encounter like a lechuza, and a lot, and they make it home, but they're like, by a hair we made it home. I mean, who knows what could have happened? And I'm like, that's true. And I've always been just very fascinated with the witching hour as far as that. But I know there's been a lot of stuff on Telemundo, um, you know, about how, they saw those humanoids that were flying, which was very interesting. And, I think about like how long ago have these rules been in place for us not to venture out, not to get into trouble or to encounter these particular individuals. A pack of donkeys on the bridge. Okay, well, Hey guys, I'm reviewing you guys' comments. So you guys see a pack of donkeys. I've seen, when I was shooting the very first film called my Slender Man movie, very first upload. I think that was like our first upload, the Slender Man movie. Terrible movie. First time directing. So a lot of people don't know this, but we finished shooting the movie, right? The kill scene at the park. We were at this park, like on the southeast side by Sam's, by Southwest Military Drive, if you guys are from San Antonio. So we finished shooting the movie, and then all of a sudden, like it's already probably midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. Me, my brother, who's the cameraman, and pretty much my cast is left. And then all of a sudden, I'm probably like me and my brother and like 4 actors. We're still there. We're leaving. All of a sudden, a whole bunch of like, you hear trolloping, and I'm like, oh my God, did I summon the donkey lady? But you hear like, it's like thunder on the floor, right? And you're like, what is that? Like, can't be the donkey lady. Like, and it's just like thunder, and you hear this like trembling, like, but we're on the grass. Like, there's something wrong. Like, is this an earthquake? It's San Antonio. There are no earthquakes. Well, I mean, that's debatable, but nonetheless, I was like, what is going on? And all of these horses, I don't know where these horses came from. I'm still in the city. I'm still within the city limits, I believe. And there's just all these horses, big, medium, like ponies. I'm like, what is going on? So the pack of donkeys, I definitely believe, Dr. Coconut. But as far as that, like getting back into, sorry, I digress. I had a tangent on the pack. I saw a pack of donkeys. I associate pack of horses, and it's creepy signal. So relevant stuff. But I don't know. I just feel like there's so much when it comes to the witching hour. And I don't know if I've really had time to elaborate on this amazing story that was shared with me about how when he was little, his family basically had to summon like cleansers, like people who practiced white magic to cleanse out brujeria that was terribly cast on one of his like aunts. And I was like, wow, that's really intense. And he's like, oh no, the story gets crazy. And I'm like, tell me, okay, great. And so basically he tells me that it's him. He's spending the night with him and a whole bunch of cousins. And if you're from San Antonio, the south side, the west side, the east side, you know what's up. It's like you in a tiny room with all your cousins. That's a sleepover. You're having fun. You're playing games. But he's saying, no, we're terrified. We're all huddled together. We don't want to sleep because of this fact that we know the house is haunted. And I'm like, okay, well, it's a ghost. I'm just thinking, all right, cool. Like, how's that going to scare? He's like, you have no idea. We saw an African-American apparition who looked like he came from the time of slavery. He had like shackles on him, and it freaked them out. There was like a whole room filled with kids, different ages, that were freaking out, and they didn't understand him. Like, he was trying to communicate with them, but they didn't understand him. And so they're screaming, they're crying. It's like 3 a.m. The aunt is like, what is going on? And so they summoned this elderly lady who practices white magic, right? And she comes with like her 2 like sidekick, like maybe daughters or nieces. But this lady's like super old. Like, she's like 90 years old. And she does her ceremony. She figures out and talks to the spirit. And the spirit, lo and behold, is like, I think from Haiti. And he has unfortunately been going through the issue of slavery. However, he didn't die like through brujeria. He didn't die through magic. He died. But he was a soul that basically a witch stole, and he was being used to haunt the house. And so the elderly lady who practices white magic is telling the aunt that. And she's like, "Are you sleeping with one of your neighbors?" And the aunt is like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Well, his wife knows. She went to a witch. She got a witch to use this poor soul of this African American man to haunt you and your family." And so that's crazy, right? And she's like, "But how did that happen?" And she's like, "Did you receive a gift from this woman?" And she's like, "Yeah." And it was like this little spice rack or like a little candle rack, tiny little thing. And so they take it outside, they open it, and it's got like stuff that they're just like, "We'll take care of it. We'll release his spirit. And so he can be at peace." But yeah, so basically she she magically found a spirit, bound it, then used it for the witch, I guess, for kind of like her own financial game. And so, that tale was just so iconic. Can you imagine? You have a ghost and he's trying to communicate with you, tell you like, "Hey, I'm sent here because so and so wants me to scare you and terrorize you and your whole family, but it's nothing personal. For one thing, I don't even understand your language." That's a terrible thing to go through. And but I just thought about it because it is definitely part of the witching hour. Doing it, for one thing, to call somebody at 3 or 4 in the morning, get them out of bed, get their whole go-to girls, her backup, them get dressed, them be mentally awake and prepared to do whatever ceremonies they have to do to unravel that they're talking to a ghost from, probably an entirely different decade or decades in a different language, and then having to probably in the wee early morning hours release this ghost. That is insane. Like, I can't even get up to like make coffee. I have to do it the night before. That it takes a lot. And but yes, I've always been very fascinated with like this whole, like, there's something very intriguing, very mysterious about the wee hours of the night. And I don't know, I just feel like it's not that it's just magical, it's just there's so much mystery to it. And I guess that's why they call it like the witching hour and people encountering witches. There's a lot of people that definitely want to get more interested in the arts, right? But it just really kind of takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of patience. And for me, I definitely always tell people it's about respect. And you can't just go out there and, just say, "Oh, I'm going to practice this." There's a lot of things people wind up paying highly for, on getting houses cleansed and getting spirits off their back because they feel like, "Oh, it's the witching hour, time to try it." No, get it, do your research, go in with that respect, and, at your own risk. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just feel that there's a lot of different things that can go wrong with when people decide to kind of do a little research or see a Facebook post and say, "I'm going to try this." No, you know what? Do your research and see how it, read some reviews. We don't just buy off of Amazon, do we? We read reviews, see what happens. And, but yeah, I just feel like that's always interested me. I've always been very into like understanding it, understanding the different types of practices. But yeah, like I was actually watching this other video and I thought about, I don't know, editing. I hate editing, guys. Editing is so annoying. It's just annoying. But I love talking. So that's why I love going live, because I don't have to edit anything. But anyways, I once saw this video, right, where it was this Caucasian YouTuber who's young, who's like, yeah, we're gonna go get cleansed, or we're gonna go to, if I get 1 to 3, cool, I've said my piece. This guy clearly was there to get views. He wanted to do this show. Oh yeah, we're gonna get, we're gonna get a Mexican curse on us, or I don't know what it was. You know how it is with clickbait. And so he goes, he gets a cleansing, but it's like a flea market in Mexico. It's like a flea markety kind of like petite flea market, which is cool. But there's like a wing, or like a whole aisle, like a really long aisle that is dedicated solely to, different botanical types of things, readings, cleansings, all of that stuff. And I'm just like, wow, what an idiot. But you're going there not because you need help, or you believe in it, or you respect it. You're just making, kind of like a reaction video. So he goes and he's like, well, I think they're fake, because everybody's saying like so and so's fake and this is real and this is not real. And he's kind of mocking the person who's saying that they're cleansing him and doing this whatever it is. This, I don't know what it was. I think it was a cleanse. They did it with like an olive branch or some sort of like tree. And I was like, okay. And then so he's saying he has a translator. They're translating. He's recording. He should not be recording. He should not be. They're telling him, do not record us. Somehow, some way, he's got like a GoPro in his pocket. And I'm like, wow, what a douchebag. And so they're doing it, and they're telling him, the ins and outs of the whole layout of the market, right? The botanical market, if you will. And he's just like, oh, cool, whatever. And he's like, well, I'm going to go to her next, and this and that. And they're talking in Spanish, and the translator's telling him like what they're saying, and that, that they're cleansing him and this. And so it's done. And somehow, some way, he goes to somebody else, and they tell him his fortune or whatever. And he starts saying that he's getting bad luck and things are going wrong. He lost his wallet and some other stuff. And I'm just like, I don't feel sorry for you. I don't care. Like, you're disrespectful. You're recording people when they're asking you not to record them. Like, not cool. So I don't have no empathy. I'm just like, whatever. And then he's saying it's getting worse. And like the stuff that he's saying sounds pretty severe. And like you can kind of like figure out, like, he seems pretty, like, I don't think he would lie about like what happened. I don't remember. It's been so long. And I was just like, wow. So he goes to like a park, a Mexican park, kind of like Central Park. And there's a man who's doing like readings. And so he goes to the man and he's like telling him like what's going on. And the man's like, oh, well, I can tell you what it was. He's like, yeah, there are some people that don't really know how to read or cleanse or do any of that. But I can read what happened to you. You went there and you basically brought an entity back with you. And it's following you. And you're cursed. And so I was kind of like, it sounds about right. And he's like, it's going to be a process. I think it was like a 2-day process and to be cleansed. Who knows if they were able to really take off that particular spirit who may have already kind of imprinted on him. Like, we don't know. And at some point, it's kind of like you can only do what you can do. And the man said he was going to try to help him. So whatever happened to him, who knows? But is it really worth getting like 100,000 views if you've screwed over your life? Hell no, it's not. It's absolutely not okay to do that. It's not okay to meddle or take for granted these types of things. And so every time I go to a place, I always take my time. make sure that I'm mentally prepared, that I don't have something that I'm bringing home with me. Just like the time I drove to Demon Street, it was 2 in the morning. I was not mentally prepared or probably spiritually like aware and guarded from that. And so you have to kind of go in saying, I'm going to be respectful, I'm going to be alert, I'm going to be spiritually prepared to be defensive in saying, you're going to stay there, I'm going to come back home, and that's it. And that's what I try to do, is tell my story and tell it, in that particular manner. And but yes, going back to the witching hour, it's nothing to take for granted. It's something to definitely admire, but don't go in saying, oh, it's midnight, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that. I've heard so many different interesting things where people invoke spirits, people get involved, where you're having to reach out to instead of other lines of business, you're reaching out to other different theologies for help. And so, but yeah, I thought I'd go over that. I definitely will be doing more live videos. We'll be conversing on different things, probably demons. I need to read up. Honestly, I want to say back in 2010 to 2011, and I did a lot of reading on demonology, but it's been 10 years? So I don't remember off the top of my head, but it is something we definitely will be talking about. We'll be talking about a lot of different interesting things. I really do, love talking about the occult, witches, demons, spirits. Maybe we'll talk about, I think I'll probably edit that, but on like crazy, crazy things that have been occurring within the Facebook world. And but other than that, I thank you guys for watching, subscribing, keeping up with me. I will definitely, like I said, I'm back. I have a baby studio, so it's a lot easier, but for the most part, I definitely will. And then I'll also be having a sister channel, the Jesse Jacks channel, talking about San Antonio, period. I will be the storyteller of San Antonio. I really want to be known for that. That's one of the things that I really love doing. But I will catch you guys later. Thank you for watching.